I think we got one more. One more is coming in, so I'll wait a second.
Okay.
Yeah, Lorraine's on. Okay. So, yeah, we'll get started, and we're recording it, so that way, I know, if I'm not mistaken, Miriam can correct me or not. I don't think anyone from Dallas was going to be on today, unless I'm mistaken. But Dallas, we're going to have to do one another. So I think we have all the other, at least a regional person from the other regions. I'm pretty sure. So everybody, once again, if you don't know me, I'm Chris Comboy, and work in the Office of Administrative Services, ETA. The purpose of today is what we're trying to do is, if you're not aware of the SESA Real Property Database System that we've been working on for quite a long time, which we've been working through a work group. We put out a TEAGL. This was in part of the TEAGL that talked about eventually the certification and the SESA database that's going to take over for that old one that was out there that wasn't being used. So this is a more of an interactive one. And so we're still in the stages of development of this system in multiple phases. Our main first phase was to get what we thought was a critical piece of getting the system to actually be able to certify property and get everything in property inside of that system, and then to be able to start working on a modification to the TEAGL that would eventually allow for us to have the state certify the property. The system's built, I'm not going to go too much into the system, where there's an admin role, a regional role, and then a state read-only kind of role, multiple roles in this system. What we're really talking about first is the data itself inside of here and updating property data to get us more in line with what data got transported over from the old spreadsheets that regions had corrected many years ago or gave us some information many years ago. We all understand there's been a lot of property changes, been a lot of things that have either been sold. So what we are doing now is trying to get the regions logged into the system and be able to update their property records in the system. So whether you have a hard copy record or some other form that you've got information on, it was sold, we'd be able to put that, you'd be able to update that property. So we're trying to go through, Tom was nice enough, Tom Delicio is on the line today, kind of helped us out, worked through properties, seeing if it actually was calculating correctly, working, doing the things it needed to do to be able to get to this point to at least update the property records, because we can't go much further if we've got old property where 5 of them have been sold and there's no property in that state. We just need to start trying to update the property, and then with the goal eventually being that once all the regions are able to update their properties, the hope is that we're going to test, have a state test the use of it from their end, and the read and being able to do and get an email and update the certification in their, they can not update property, they can update certain pieces, but it's not going to override property on the certification, but we'll kind of talk about that. But the idea is then we're going to go test, have a state test, and once we feel comfortable enough, we're going to be in the process of writing up the instructions to be able to issue to the workforce community to be able to start getting the certifications done. And then in behind that, there's other phases to this for being able to issue disposition instructions, to be able to do a transfer of property and things like that. But the most important piece of this is being able to get our property records updated in the system that we feel, and also be able to certify, because being able to certify will help us update the property records from whatever you might not have on that property and not have any of the records. At least when it goes out for certification, it's a give and take back between that state on the record and going through a certification process. So where we are today is we're going to have Dan go ahead and kind of walk through. I'll kind of give Tom a few seconds before Dan goes, if you'd like to just maybe give, as a user and kind of testing it and seeing things, he can give, or is it better afterward, Tom, to kind of give your summary and overview of just kind of updating properties?
Yeah, hi everyone. Hope you can hear me. I'm not sure if I'm having issues or not.
No, we can hear you good.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I went in, it's a straightforward to upload things and do stuff and make some adjustments. So I was able to do that on a few properties as test runs and of recent transactions and so forth. So I think that's the key is I know we're in busy times with monitoring and so forth, but really finding the time and just taking a state and walking through what records you do have or reconciliations you've had with properties, and walk through each property and take a look at it and sort of say, are those numbers right? I would suggest too, if right now being not in the office, a lot of our records we do not have access to, so we can't scan or upload things that are in hard copy. But if you have any digital documents, any digital correspondence, letters, disposition letters, or requests, I would say go forward with that and try to upload some of those things. And just go from there. It's the system seems to be working very well for the phases we have in effect right now, and let's start moving ahead with this. I think that's really all I have to say.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. So, because being a user from that end versus my end is helpful to know. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, who I think is going to give kind of a demonstration and kind of like give you what it looks like, some other things. And then I think after that, the idea is that we're also Net Digital, the company's going to work towards, and Miriam, getting, if you didn't have a user ID, getting your user IDs established to be able to log on. And then we kind of, give and take from there, as far as Tom mentioned, you might not have the record. We understand that, but if you give a chance to play and what records you do and you start updating it, it gives you a better understanding what you might need to go search for, what you might need to go, ask for, or look in your digital files or somewhere like that. If you take a property at a time that you think you might have and just get into the system and start trying to work as much as you can through those properties. I don't think we're thinking that you're going to get 100% in this type of COVID environment, all these properties updated, but at least gives you one as a user who's going to be using it. And eventually when we issue the TEAGL, being able to, get it as far as we can, we can move it a little bit further on to the next steps to get this. Because I don't think any property is going to be perfect. That's why we have a certification system. So you might not have some of the records, but eventually we'll be able to get it out to the state for the certification. And that's where your give and take between them comes into play. Oh, send me the record. I see that. I didn't have that record. And you start updating it for the certifications from the state. So I'm sorry I'm long-winded, but I'll turn it over now. Go ahead, Dan, and then we'll take questions kind of afterwards. So it's all yours, Dan.
Okay. Yep, thanks. All right, so let's dive right in here. So this is the home page. This is the login page. There's not a whole lot here. I mean, you can hit the login button or you can register. So if you don't have an account, this is where you would get that account. You essentially just click on that register button, fill this form out. It's all self-explanatory. You put your access level here. I want to be a regional user. I want to be a state user, or you want an admin account. So you just fill the form out. You hit register. It sends an email to the admin folks to this website. So Miriam would get an email. Chris would get an email. Whoever's on that list would get an email notifying them that someone had registered. They would go in, then approve your account, and then you would get an email saying, go ahead and log in. So you can't use the system right away after you register. You have to wait until you get that email. Once you get that email, you just hit sign in. I'm going to log in as a regional user. This is a test account here. So when you log in, you basically have one page that you can go to at this point in time. I mean, this application is going to grow, but right now we just have this manage building feature. So you just click that, and that will take you to this page here. You should only see your buildings within your region. You can see here this region drop down is grayed out. If you're an admin user, you would see every region in that list, and you can kind of jump around to different regions. But since I'm a regional user from San Francisco, that box is grayed out. I can only see those buildings within my region. You can jump around to different states within your region. So if you just want to see Arizona or California, you can just kind of pick those things. It will filter for you as you select them. You can also select by status. So there's various statuses on these records. So if you wanted to see your submitted records, I don't know if we have, this is all new, so everything's going to be basically, oh, we do have a certified, and then we do have some test records, and I didn't clear that out. But yeah, so you can sort, you can filter by the status. You can also put in a building number here. So if you're looking for, if you want to go to AZ002, you can type that in. You don't have to hit a button or anything. It's going to, on the fly, do searches for you. So if you just do AZ, it's doing a right-handed wildcard on that. So anything that starts with AZ is going to be queried. So let's drill down on one of these records here. We'll do CA001 as our test record. So you hit this button here on the far right here. It's the edit button, and it brings you to this form here. So you can change any of this information as a regional user. State users can't do this, by the way. So state users don't have that edit button. They do have a I don't even know if they have a delete button. No, they don't. They don't have any buttons. You'll see it. I can show you that. I know that all you guys are regional users, but I'll show you what the state users see once we certify one of these. Once we submit one of these for certification to a state user, just so you can see what that looks like. But this is the form. It's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, there's not a whole lot of fields there. You can select different statuses for this building. When you do that, it's going to open up another form. So you have to fill out more information. So if you're saying this property sold, then you need to put in this information. This is all test data here. If you do transfer, I believe it's going to ask you, is it one or two transfers? If you do one, then you get that form. If you do two, then you have to fill out the where it was transferred to. And then the buyout one is just a single form like the sold.
Hey, Dan.
So you can fill that. Yeah, go ahead.
This is Floyd. Hey, some people are texting that they can't see the screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so can you find out if it's everybody on DOL side? Because everybody from NDS can see it.
Okay, can you guys see the screen? Okay. Everyone, anyone? I could reshare. I'll try to reshare because we had some people that joined late. So maybe when I shared, they didn't become part of that share. So let me just share again and see if that fixes it. Yeah, that's weird. All right. How about now? Can everyone see this?
This is Chris. I can see it.
You can. Can anyone not see it? I guess that's the question. All right. I think we're good then. All right. So
yeah, it looks like people are texting that they can see it now.
They can. All right. Very good. Sorry about that. At least I didn't get too far into it. I don't have to back up. So we're still on this form. We didn't get too far. So if you missed it, just talking about this page here, you can drill down on any of your buildings. You just hit this edit button and it brings up this form where you could change. You can just change any of the information on this form. This monetary inputs field, I'm going to show you this, but my guess is you probably won't use this too often. When I show you the other way of putting inputs in here, you probably won't use this. But I'm going to show it to you anyway because it's here. So I'm going to click on that button. That's going to bring you to this page here. These are all of the values, the monetary values, and I'm going to show all. These are all the rows that you can change. You can literally go in and change these values. So that land cost, let's say I wanted to change that. Let's say that's wrong. Let's say it's supposed to be, what is that, 250,000? I don't know if that's 2.5 million or 250,000. But anyway, I changed it to 25, and you can see here it changed that value. Someone's blowing on my phone. I don't. Okay, all right. Yep, we'll see it. Okay, all right. So you can see how it changed that value there. You can do that with any of these values, by the way. It's kind of clunky because you have to look for look for the right field, click the button, change the value, hit save. It's a lot of steps there. So if you're changing a bunch of values, you wouldn't do it this way, but you can, and it's here for that. And this is the initial way that we had built. I mean, this was the first form that we built. And I never got rid of it because it's just probably good to just have it there. And then formulated costs. So I clicked on monetary inputs. That was the screen you just saw where you can change the values. This formulated cost button here, these are monetary values, or their percentages, I should say. Some of them are percentages, or majority of them are percentages. These are calculated. So these are based on the inputted values. So as you input values, these values change. They're calculated. You don't touch these. They just kind of change on their own as you change the input values. And all of them are here, so I'm going to show you where else you can see these. But like I said, you don't change anything here. It's view only. And then the last button here is documents. So if you want to upload a document for this particular building, this is how you would do it. You would just click on the documents button. I have a little test one here. I'll get rid of that one. Deleting's easy. You just hit the little trash can icon. It prompts you, are you sure? You say okay, gets rid of it. Upload a document, brings up this user interface. You pick a document from your local file system. Yes, pick a date. My system's kind of slow, by the way. It's been acting this way all day. Date of document, you're going to pick a date. You're going to pick the type of document that it is. We'll say it's correspondence. You can put a description in there if you like, and then you just save it. And then it shows up in this grid down here. So you could upload as many as you want. I believe it, and it sorts it by document name. And if you want to view that document, you just click on this little download icon. That will actually pull it into another tab. That's a PDF. So that's pretty self-explanatory. But that's it. That's basically the managed building record interface. So it's this main page, and then those three tabs there: the monetary inputs, formulated costs, and then documents. Okay, so that's that. Any questions so far? It's pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, all right. So now we're going to get into the actual real use case of this application, and that's to review and certify this building. So to do that, as a regional user, if you think this is ready to go, you've made your changes, maybe you changed some input values, or you made some corrections on the property name and the address, whatever you've done here, you think it's ready to go, you want to send it to a state user, you simply just hit this review button. That's going to take you to another page. It's going to open another tab in your browser window. So you can see I still have this one, this page here. So it doesn't go over that. So you actually have to hit that tab to go back, and it's a browser tab. It's not a tab within the application. But it launches this into another tab. And this basically resembles a spreadsheet that maybe some of you guys are using at some point. So we took that spreadsheet and we just put it into this web form. And you're going to review this information, and you're going to change the numbers as you see fit. Now, like I was showing you before, how you can change the input values, you can change them here too, and it's a lot easier here. So if you wanted to change any of these values, basically that have this little icon with the pencil, those are input values. Those are values that you can actually change. This icon here, the circle with the question mark, that's a calculated value. Okay, you can't change that value. So if I change these values, then that value will change. That's calculated. You can click on that, by the way, and it will tell you that it's this is a calculated value. It will tell you, and it tells you what that calculation is, and it's kind of encrypted here, but that's basically original land cost, building improvement cost, and original interest. So it's those three fields, right? It's these three fields right here. But if you want to change any of these values, you basically just click and then change the value. Here's the value that you change. Let's say it's 25. We'll make it like 300. Okay, it's not letting me change the corrected amount for some reason. Oh, never mind. I clicked on a record that's being reviewed by a state user. So this one apparently I've already sent. Let me undo that one. So that which one did I click on? Yeah, we don't want to do that one. Let's do this one here. Okay, so I want to click on this one. This California 002, and that one should let me change the value. Yeah, that's going to let me change the value. So I clicked on one that was that we already sent to the state, so the state user. So we'll use this one as our demo, CA002. So let's say you wanted to change this value to say 85,000. You can annotate that with comment, and then you essentially just save it. And then you're gonna see down here, you can see that it changed here. And then you're gonna see this acts differently, by the way, when you're a state user. When you're a regional user, it lets you come in and change the actual amount on the record. So when you're changing these records as the regional user, you're changing the actual amount. For a state user, it kind of puts it that amount that they're changing it to in kind of like a holding area until it's certified by the region, and then it actually moves that into the actual real field. But as a regional user, you're actually making changes to the actual data because you're going to submit this. You're going to get all this data ready. You're going to make changes, and you're going to submit it to the state. So that's why it's letting you do that. So basically, you're not going to have to approve your own changes. That's the logic behind it. You can just freely make your changes. So we're going to look at this data. We're going to say, okay, all that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and send this to the state user for certification. You simply just click this button. This is how easy it is. Oh, by the way, you can add documents from this page as well. So if you get to this page and you're like, oh, I forgot to add a document, you don't have to jump back here, hit the documents button and go through all that mess. You could just do it right from here. You just hit documents and it's the same interface. You upload a document, you upload it, hit save, and then, you can do everything from here. So you don't have to jump back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and submit this to a state user. So you just click that. It says, are you sure? We're going to say yes. By the way, this is an error. I saw this morning. I didn't want to fix it because I knew our demo was coming up. It's not fit. It's failing to send an email, and that's what this is. So the emails aren't going out. So I figured it wasn't that big of a bug for me to have to dig into before our demo. So I just sent that. So it says right here, this building is being reviewed and certified by state user. So we know that it's that status has switched from being just an active status to now it is being reviewed by a state user. If we go back here and we look at that record, so CA002, you'll see right here, it's pending certification. And you can see that it was created on that date, today's date. So that's the date that we sent it to the state, or to the state user. So it's pretty easy. I mean, all we're doing is basically just clicking on a record, going to review and then sending it. So like for example, this one here, we're just hitting this review button. We're reviewing this, changing any values that we need to change, and then hitting the submit button. So it's extremely easy to get this to the state user. It's basically just a couple of clicks. So that's it. That's it for this part of that review process. So now it's going to go to the state user. I won't log in yet. I'll take any questions, or if you have any thoughts at this point. All pretty straightforward so far.
Yeah, this is Chris.
Yep.
So the last way he showed you, I'm sure Tom can chime in, but is the best way we believe probably to update, because it mirrors the old certification form tweaked a little bit, but it gives you everything in view. And when you make a correction, or let's say this property was like, no, we had a modification, ... I know that it hasn't been updated. You can update it here, and then you instant see the total to be amortized. Everything starts to adjust till you get it to that point. So that's when I talked earlier about this point in time, we want to update records. I think your best approach is to go in this way to update your records with whatever you might find, like said, no, this thing was a long time ago. I have this from the state, you know, I had a certification that was never inputted in a long time ago. I know it was a good certification. I'll just adjust all these numbers to get to what that certification or get to that point. And then you can even, as we talked about, the reason the documents button upload is because if you could scan that in, or if it's in a file that you had, knowing it was a certification that never got changed a long time ago into the system, you know, an old certification when we used to do it the old way, the hard copy with the signatures on it, you could put that in there as your documentation for, you know, purposes of why I made these changes here. So our goal here is until he's going to show you the certification point, but he's going to show you how it works. But our idea moving forward after this is for you to go in here, as Tom mentioned, and start updating those records that you might have and see how it works, and getting them to a point that you can, you know, they're okay, I got that, I can update that. We're not sending them for certification yet, because that's a whole lot of other work we have to get done with the states, you know, and test it and stuff. So he's still going to show you that process, so you have an understanding of states can't manipulate data, you know, how it's going to work and be easy for you as far as getting it back from them and making changes and stuff like that. So we're going to show you that, even though we're not going to move with that next step for a little bit. There's other trigger points that we have to make in that, you know, creating the Teagle mod 2 or whatever, that the training and stuff behind that, but we're still going to show it to you. So I hope that makes sense of how you can update properties easily, you know, a little easier, you know, by seeing your changes automatically being adjusted. Oh, what's my equity level? It should be 30. Oh, I see that mod came in. I need to change that original, you know, land cost, or if a land cost, you know, was different, you can change that and see the changes. So, and then it gets updated as far as your records. And then one of the things is, Dan said, hey, you have a point of putting sold. So not sold moving forward, but sold updating. If you were to put sold in there, you wouldn't be able to have to update this anymore, because it's sold. It's no longer, you know, in the system.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to stop you there before you moved on. Other people might have questions, so thanks.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point, Chris. I mean, this page right here will allow you to see the calculated values happen in real time. If you do it the other way, you can change an inputted value, but you don't see those calculated values change. So here, at least as you're inputting these values, you can see those calculated values actually change as you're inputting those new values. So yeah, that's a good point. So any questions, or I move on here? Okay, and we won't spend too much time on state, because like Chris said, I just want you to see the process, because it does eventually get back to you where you have to certify it, and that actually closes it out. So I wanted, that's basically your last step, but you can't get there until the state does their thing. So I wanted you to at least see that. So let me go ahead and log out. I'm going to log in with a state user. All right, let's log in here. All right, so this state user only has access to 2 states, Arizona and California. I just set it up that way. If we go to, where's the one that I did here? I think it's California, right? Yeah, so here's the one, CA002. So you can see here, that state user will have this little certify button here. He has to take action. So he just clicks on that. It's going to bring them to the exact same page that you saw, except it functions a little differently. So if they change a value, like I said, it's not going to change the actual value. It kind of puts it in a holding area until the regional people look at it and put their stamp of approval on it. So all they can do is they could change the value. It's telling me that they have to put in an annotation. Why are you changing the value? It's not going to let them leave that box blank. They have to put some kind of reasoning in here. We designed it that way. So they'll save it. And then what's going to happen here is it's going to show you, it's going to add another row down here for that state user. And it's going to show them what that corrected amount was. And this is the holding area that I was telling you about. So it's going to stick that in there, but it's going to also retain that original amount, so that when it comes back to you, you can look at both of those values. So we didn't want to go over that, over the original amount. We wanted to preserve that so that when it comes back to you, you have both numbers. And that does that with any column that they make a change to. Okay, so they would do that. They can also, they have the same power here to upload documents and to click on documents that have already been uploaded so they can view all that stuff. And then when they're done, they just hit certify. It's gonna break again because it's failed to email the person. It would, at this point, by the way, it would have emailed you, the region user. So that's where it's breaking right there. So you would have gotten an email right there saying this person just submitted their building. So at that point, you would log back on, and then let me just show you as the, so here it is right here, that CA002. So you can see that's submitted now, right? And there's an actually submitted date. So this was the date that you as the regional user sent it to state. And this is the date that the state user sent it back to you. Right, and then once you certify it, then it'll populate this last column here, this certified on field. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and log out, and then log back in as that regional user. Okay, manage buildings. Let's go on the CA002. So it's this one right here. We're gonna hit this edit button. It's gonna bring us back into here. You hit review to get to that spreadsheet. And then you basically look at everything. You can make changes on top of his changes. So if you didn't like the 860 that he put in there, you can change it just by hitting that right there. You can change the value. But there's that original amount. So you have that. You can look at any of the notes that state user had put in here, so you can read all that, and everything looks good. And it tells you down here that Joe Smith had reviewed and certified this building. And then if everything looks good, you have access to upload more documents if you need to, or if you want to view documents. When you hit accept, it's going to break here because it can't email. But it's telling you right here now it's certified, and it timestamps it. It tells you that this person reviewed it, who was the state user, and then the regional user accepted that certification on this date. If we go back here and we refresh this, you'll see that C002 now says certified, 2 green check marks. All 3 dates are filled, and your job is done. So that's it. Any questions?
Hey, Dan, I think everyone's locked for some reason on mute. I don't know whether there's a master that can unlock them or not.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, let me look at that.
Yeah, because I think we got some. Yeah.
I don't think I did. That might be Brandy because I didn't start the meeting. So Brandy,
Okay.
could you look? I know Brandy, did you start it? You started this meeting, right? Or,
yeah, I did start it.
Is everyone on mute or something? Is there like
No,
some
I
mass
didn't
mute?
manually mute anybody.
Okay, because Miriam said she couldn't unlock or unmute herself. So
Oh, that's weird.
Let me see
Yeah,
if I can do anything to her name. Hold on one second.
yeah. Because I knew Tom talked, but
No, yeah, I have the ability to mute her, but I can't take anything off of unmute since I didn't do it.
yeah, okay. So maybe it's just that.
Yeah.
I do have a chat question from Ramona. So I'm gonna there's 2 of them from Ramona, so I'll go ahead and address them. So it's who has populated the individuals at the state that will receive the email, and where is this information? So Ramona, I believe, Dan, correct me, that when we get the states ready to go, they'll go through a registration process, and they'll put that information in. So if they're from California and they're the person and they register, that information will come from the state when they register and you approve them to be the person. So
That's right.
Yep. And then if there's time when all this should be completed. No, not right now. I mean, we're obviously as Tom mentioned, a lot of us are in COVID, this, that, but the more we can get updated and then, be able to start, hopefully we're going to start testing the state. We're going to grab a state to help us. Then we'll be able to get a better idea of the timeline of, when you need to complete it. But it'd be helpful that, as you're in it, you've done, 2 of the 3 steps. So if there's time when all this should be completed. No, not right now. I mean, we're obviously in, as Tom mentioned, a lot of us are in COVID, this, that, but the more we can get updated and then, be able to start, hopefully we're going to start testing the state. We're going to grab a state to help us. Then we'll be able to get a better idea of the timeline of, when you need to complete it. But it'd be helpful that, as you're in it, maybe a couple properties, you could email, us and say, I've done some properties. I'm not having any trouble yet. You can email Miriam and I just to keep us on track that you're actually in there. You're not seeing any troubles. You're trying to get information. And that way we can kind of manage, because we have to do Dallas region on a different call. But this way, if you can do some, I don't have a timeline of when I want you to all complete yet, but if you can start working it through and because we know you can't get to your offices, most of you, and actually find the property. So I can't really put a timeline, because if you can't see some of these hard copy properties, it's hard to do. So I hope that answers that. But the more you can get in it, the more we can start getting it updated as much as we can. And like I said, we are at a point that we know it's hard to update some of these because your hard record files are back in the offices. And so I can't really put a timeline on it. Anybody else out there, if you want to chat, if you can't talk, or anything else?
Chris, this is Carol Andre. Where do we access the website or the database? Is it on the intranet?
So Dan, Miriam can publish it or put it out there for the actual.
Yes. There's a URL. So yeah, you would get to this through your web browser. We give you that URL. That would bring you to that homepage. But it's actually out there right now. So we could give that. Miriam has it. She could send it out to anybody. I don't know if everyone has accounts, so you still may have to hit that register button to put your information in there. But yeah, it's out there right now. You get to it via a web address.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just to answer a deeper part of that question, so you got to understand of where this is located. So and Dan and them can correct me, but so this is part of a bigger system that OSAM has. We have a separate piece of that, but it's kind of a property management system that OSAM has done. We can't see that piece, but this has been built off kind of like that platform. So so it's part of another part of a system, but we've created our own piece of that. So I want to give you that impression that it is the department has created a big system, and we're just taking a piece of their system that they created to be able to manage the SESA real properties, because they have all their real properties and other properties in a system that's, Dan, what is it called? Or Floyd, you might be able to call it what the big
SMS.
SMS, the space management system. So it's an OSAM system kind of built by that, but we've got a piece of that that was specifically built to be able to manage this. So that's the good part about it. We're within the department system that's been kind of created. So modified and simple, for us, separate, but it is in kind of a departmental space management system. So I know that wasn't what you asked, but I thought I would at least give a background to everybody else who might be listening. So, any other?
Hey, Chris. Oh, I'm getting echo.
Uh-oh, echo. Okay, that was an echo. Try again.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So Region 1 and Region 2 are now the Northeast region. We've switched a couple of states. So Region 2 took Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. I mean, I don't think VI has any anyway, but Puerto Rico does. And Pennsylvania is now in Region 1.
Okay. Cool. Can you email Miriam and I, and then we'll work to have them update the system to assign it correctly? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. And Dan, when we'll send
that's
that.
easy. Yep, that's easy fix.
Yeah, it should be an easy just move over. Yep.
Yep. It's all data driven, so.
Okay.
And one last thing, will we have rules, like a formal procedure with dates? So when we
Yes.
upload a document, will we be uploading a document based on the date of the document or based on the date we upload it?
It's the date you upload it. Yeah. So part of when we issue these instructions eventually are going to have like, when the certifications need to be completed, those type of things when we actually issue that. But for the rules inside of the system, because it's the date that, you can always put it in the comment section of what you upload or something like that, but what type of the document it is, but where it's coming from. I think there was a section in there, but no, it's just the date you're uploading the document. Any others? No? Okay, so Miriam will go ahead and send out to the invite list those, the URL. If you already have an account, some of you did who were in our test group, you can start. Well, Dan, you might have to give the go if you have to fix something. I don't know
Yeah.
when they can
Yeah.
get in there.
Yeah, I'll fix the emailing issue, because then you won't get an email when someone registers. But I will do that today and get that pushed out by the end of today. So yeah, then people can start registering in the morning.
Okay, so if you wait to us so we can update that, and then tomorrow, if you can sign on tomorrow or not, and that way we can start, because those of you who have to register will have to come through our admin role, and Miriam and I are both, can review or whatever, and
Yep.
start issuing your, approve you to be able to get into the system unless you already had an ID. So.
Yeah.
So really, I want to close out with, like I said, we're in a phase that we're trying to upload properties. This is not going to the States at this point. There's a whole lot of work. There's a lot of other things that have to go, but we really are at a point where we think it's, enough where we can get our properties as dated as we can. We know so many of them have been sold and that, and why start working with old property that's been sold already? It'd make us look kind of, at least can try to update our properties until we move to like the next steps with the training and issuing of and working with the states and doing that. Because we're not gonna let you go to certification we have to issue the Teagle mod or the instructions, and we want to train you and all that, and but we really want to start having you in the system updating properties so we can keep moving a little bit on this project. So I just wanted to give you that background. That don't think we're going to train, talk about how the certifications are going to go to the regions. Then we're eventually going to, when we issue this, that we're going to get a training for the states. So it's all going to be done. We're going to have to issue the Teagle to it with the instructions. We've already talked to Opter about how to do that. But at this point, it's really getting in there and just, taking a little bit of time, start working through your properties and updating what on those properties. It's like I said, it's not going to eventually be 100% perfect property, because you might not have some of the records the states never told you about that you didn't capture a mod. That's okay. If we get it to a point where we at least know and eventually issue, the state's going to, when they certify, are going to go, no, you forgot this mod. No, I sold it. I never told you I sold it. We're going to get those, but we want to get most updated property we can, at least from your records, before we do the next steps. So.
And then one thing, Chris, I forgot to mention that might be helpful. Down here is a link to the user's guide. So if you click on that, it's just a PDF, and it will basically everything that I went over today and then some. There's a lot of stuff in here, so that's always there for you, in case you want to read through it.
Yep. Yep, and it is very helpful because it's got some little things in there that. So, all righty.
Cool.
Question. All righty, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Be safe out there. And like I said, if you have any questions, just send them to Miriam, Ozzy, who's on the team, our team and the admin, or myself. You can send it to all three of us and we'll review it. If you have any questions, you start getting logged in and you have something that you see is just a little bit weird and you don't quite understand it, just go through us three, Ozzy, Miriam, and myself, who are on the invite list. Knowing your thing, and just send it to that. So, All righty. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.